All right, and we're back. So, part two. So they've now created this Articles of Confederation. We saw that they wanted the government to be weak on purpose. Here are some of the pros of this new government. So, on the one hand, the Articles of Confederation had qualities that citizens appreciated because the Articles set up a weak government. States got to keep their power and independence. No strong central government can tell them what to do. So again, they were really worried about people abusing their power. Think about all the abuses Britain put them through. And all right, here are some of the weaknesses. However, there were problems. The Articles gave Congress the power to pass laws about certain things, but not to enforce those laws. Congress could not create a military to protect the new nation. Instead, it had to ask the states to supply soldiers. Congress also relied on the states for money because it had no power to collect taxes. And in order to change the Articles, every single state had to agree to the changes. These and other problems meant that in general, citizens felt like the relationship, the government wasn't working. So, um, really, the biggest problem is, no enforcement of laws. They could not create a military to protect the new nation. That's kind of a big deal, right? You can't protect your own nation. Other people are just going to take you over. Um, they also could not collect taxes. Remember, citizens really didn't, they had a sour taste in their mouth over all the taxes England um, had collected and, where that went. And then finally, every single state had to agree to the changes. That's 13 states. Have you ever tried to get 13 people to all agree? It's not easy. All right. With 13 different states, so that brings us to the differences. With 13 different states, there was no easy solution. Here's why. States had different needs. For example, some states depended on fishing, while others mostly grew crops. States had different sizes. Some states had many people, others had few. And then finally, people had different opinions. Some people feared a central government, while others thought a central government was necessary. The last one was especially troublesome. Many people feared they would lose their freedom if the central government had too much power. Others were tired of the weak government created under the Articles of Confederation and felt like nothing would ever get done if nobody was in charge. So this is a tough spot America was in. They didn't want the central government to have too much power and go right back to what they had just gained independence from England. Uh, but they also wanted a government that could actually accomplish something or get something done. So they had to figure something out. And in comes the Constitution. So, in 1787, representatives from every state except Rhode Island met in Philadelphia to fix the articles. We call this meeting the Constitutional Convention because they ended up doing more than just fixing the articles. They wrote the Constitution, but agreeing on a new way to structure the government wasn't easy. Some states floated a new idea. Why not create a government with three branches? Now we're starting to look a little bit more like what we recognize, right? The new government could have a legislative branch with a Congress that makes laws, an executive branch led by a president who carries out those laws or executes those laws, thus executive, and had a judicial branch with courts to interpret laws. It sounded good, but there was one major problem. How many votes would each state get in Congress? And that brings us to what's known as the Virginia Plan and the New Jersey Plan. Voting in Congress. Yes, it's a big deal. Why? Because some states have a large population, some have a small population. Under the Articles of Confederation, each state got one vote no matter how many people it had. That meant many people in large states had less influence in Congress. Naturally, large states thought this wasn't fair. They thought they shouldn't um, get more votes because they had more people. Small states, however, thought it was a pretty good deal. Even though they were small, they had the same amount of power and influence as large states. They wanted to keep a one vote per state system. All right, third and final part. We'll be back momentarily, and we'll wrap things up.